We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Have fun. Hey, remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you.
Would you like to work closer to home, save money on gas, and be rewarded for your hard work and attendance? Then Bellisio Foods is looking for you. That's right, Bellisio Foods is now hiring for multiple positions and shifts with great employee benefits, an on-site health clinic, competitive wages, and advancement opportunities. Bellisio Foods is a company that truly values their employees. Apply online at belisiofoods.com/careers.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Main Street TV. I'm James. Jennifer's still on vacation, but thankfully today I'm joined by Big Papa himself.
I love it when you call me Big Papa.
Josh Willett for Tri-City Theater is here with me today. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Josh, I'm really excited that you're here.
I'm thrilled to be here. I love coming in, and we can talk about whatever you want to. I've always loved saying that whenever I'm on the radio with Matt, it's just trivial tantrums.
Trivial tantrums.
So I'm totally in. Whatever we come up with today, hopefully we won't offend anybody.
Oh, yeah, hopefully. We got some breaking news. We got some sports news. We're going to talk Oscars. We're going to talk upcoming movies, all kinds of good stuff. But starting off the show with some breaking news.
Okay.
That be Carol Baskin. Her dead husband is still dead. So, Josh, you told me before the show that you've not seen Tiger King, so the story is going to be lost on you, and I was all excited about this. And then right before we started, you said you hadn't seen it.
The only thing I know about it is actually because you guys have talked about it so much on Main Street TV. I was just telling James, I stopped paying attention to pop culture during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I pay attention to enough of it to do my job. That's about it.
Yeah. So those who are not aware, one of the characters from the Tiger King reality show about the big cat obsessed people is Carol Baskin, who is a lady who had a millionaire husband disappear mysteriously. Okay. And then she used his money to build this big cat rescue thing. But earlier in the week, she alluded to the fact that maybe her husband had been found alive in Costa Rica.
All right.
But now the New York Post is reporting that the family of her late husband, Don Lewis, has come out with a statement saying, no, there has been
he is in fact not alive.
Yeah, he is. We still don't know what happened to him, but we have no reason to suspect that he is, still alive.
I thought that Carol Baskin was an ex-girlfriend for Joe Exotic.
No, so they are mortal enemies.
I knew that, but I assumed it had something to do with the fact that they dated.
No, they did not have a romantic relationship.
Okay.
So Carol Baskins married her husband Don Lewis in 1991, and then in August of 1997, he vanished without a trace and was declared legally dead in 2002. So Baskin has often been suspected of being involved in his mysterious disappearance, to the point where, and this is a quote from the New York Post, that she put his body through a meat grinder and fed it to the tigers.
Why can it not be that people simply, as they say in the movies, RUNNOFT? Right? That he run off.
Oh yeah, he run off. All right. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I guess I assumed that. Why can't we just make it so that people just run away from home?
Well, here's the thing.
If she's crazy.
If you were married to Carol Baskin, you would have run away to Costa Rica too.
Yes. RUNNOFT.
Yeah. So as of today, Carol Baskin's husband still dead. But we will keep you up to date if he does mysteriously come back to life after having not been seen since 1997.
So again, not knowing anything about this, really. So they proclaimed that he was dead, but they really didn't have any
yeah, he just disappeared.
proof.
Yeah.
So that's why she said he could be alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm wondering if
you need to watch Tiger King, Josh.
I have
this stuff is so much crazier than you think it is in your head.
It makes me wonder if it's just a situation where, okay, so I always compare everything to like rock and roll culture history.
Yeah.
The Beatles are one of the things that I know about a lot, and Elvis. So in 1964, by that point in time, Elvis has gone to military and he's really making movies, whatever. But I don't want to say Elvis was kind of irrelevant in 1964, but he was kind of irrelevant in 1964. So the Beatles come over. Yeah. The Beatles play on the Ed Sullivan Show, and Ed Sullivan reads, "We just got a telegram or a telegraph from Colonel Tom Parker and Elvis Presley wishing the Beatles nothing but success in the United States." Well, in my mind, that really ticks me off because I think what's happening is the Beatles are like, there were like no reported crime in America when the Beatles played the Sullivan Show. So if you've got the largest viewing audience in television history, what do? You figure out how to get your name involved in it too. So Colonel Tom Parker, if you've seen the movie, which we'll talk about that a little bit today, but Colonel Tom Parker is like, "Hey, look, everybody.
Yeah.
Elvis Presley is still the king."
Yeah.
Just dangle it in front of all of our faces. That's what makes me wonder if Carol Baskin realizes that she is basically no longer.
Oh yeah. It's definitely an attempt to stay in that news cycle for sure.
Yeah, that's oh gosh. Yeah. So let's start a rumor involving myself, so that people will talk about me again.
But I do. So one of the stories from the Tiger King is, I forget exactly how it got started, but the family of the husband that went missing did these like television commercials asking for like, do you have any information about our dad's disappearance kind of thing. And so here's a picture. It's a screenshot from one of these commercials. It's his family standing with the lawyer. And I'm going to show this to the camera because it's so funny.
All right. Gosh.
Isn't that just the least charismatic looking group of people you've ever seen?
That looks like people who are preparing for their mugshots.
Oh, it's so funny. The lawyer's like so schlubby looking. But yeah, so Carol Baskin's dead husband's still dead.
That's good to know.
Breaking news.
This morning.
Well, actually, I think this was from like 3 days ago. But we were sitting here. Yeah, this is from the 20th. But as we were sitting here, Dylan was looking at some news site. He's like, "This is Carol Baskin's husband's alive." I was like, What? So I had to investigate. But hey, we have some actual breaking news today.
Yes, I'm sure we do.
The Jackson Iron Ladies celebrated Wednesday evening after winning their second straight undisputed Frontier Athletic Conference Championship in a hard-earned 45-39 overtime visit against Greenfield McLean last night.
And you have to know that 45-39 makes that game sound like it was a bigger, a wider gap than it was. It was a 1-point game for pretty much the entire game. I happened to be there last night. Dylan, were you there last night?
No, I was not.
I wasn't sure if you were playing in pep band or not. It was one heck of a game. I've seen games it went into overtime. I've seen games go into overtime before. But at the end of regulation play, the score was, it might have been 39-39. It was something to that effect. But it was a tie game with 0 seconds left on the clock, and a girl from McLean had 2 foul shots.
Yeah.
So it was basically, she just had to make a shot to win the game. That gym
Oof.
was loud.
That is a tough situation to be in.
You know, you're standing there all by yourself because at that point the game is over. You make a shot, the game's over. She missed both of the shots. I mean, and she'd been doing well, I think, during most of the game, whoever the girl was, and what a situation to be put in. I mean, it ended up really great for Jackson, but that was a hard-fought battle the entire time. And I'm not really I'm a sports guy because I've watched sports my entire life. Not that I'm a big sports guy, but I'll tell you, that was a fight.
Yeah.
It was a fight the entire game. And Jackson really was behind by 1.3 points, 1.3 points for most of the second half. So really kudos to those girls. And I know I've talked about that before on this show where I've been watching that particular team. Most of those girls on the Jackson varsity team are juniors. They have been their champs in their region since they were seventh graders. Every year, like they were the seventh grade champs, eighth grade champs, and then I think it was a little rough for them when they finally went to full varsity for their first year. But then after that, they were champs last year and champs again this year. So no, kudos to them.
Yeah.
It was what a game.
Yeah. And so you said you were there last night. You were not the only person that was there last night. Dan Morrow, Pete Wilson, and Telegram sports writer Brock Netter were also there. So I'd like to send it back to last night to Dan Morrow and watch how that game ended.
Oh.
And then after that, we're going to have an interview with a couple of the Iron Ladies players.
Oh, perfect.
Free throw by Walburn is up and good, 45-39, and that's, I think, how this one's going to end out. Saunders with a half-court shot. It'll come up short. And the Jackson Iron Ladies are your Frontier Athletic champions for the second year in a row. Last year they go 8-2 in the Frontier Athletic Conference. This year they are a perfect 9-0. They still have Chillicothe. But regardless of the outcome of that game, the Iron Ladies are the outright champions. Now they are 17-2 over the last two seasons. And our Jackson Iron Ladies are coming over in front of the Jackson Pep Band, who is playing the fight song right now. And they are cheering for the Pep Band, and they are huddled up, enjoying this very special moment. Pete Wilson. This one was fun. Coach Walburn and a very good friend of his, Jared Haynes, shake hands. Greenfield came to town with one of the more noble efforts that I've seen a team. Greenfield came into the contest 6-11. And I think 4-4 within the conference with no chance to be a conference championship. But my gosh, did they play the Iron Ladies tough tonight.
It feels amazing. Last year it was awesome to do it for our seniors, but we kind of had to rely on people last year. We needed some help, and we came in and we won every league game so far, so we knew we needed this one, and our goal is to go undefeated in the league. So it feels awesome to not have to rely on anybody else to put us in this position.
Yeah, you know, at the beginning of the season, first workout of the year, we like right on the board. Like, this is like our goal, to be undefeated in the FAC or like win a league title, you know. So to do it back to back is amazing, and like you said, like not have to rely on someone losing or winning to put us up in the lead. It's a great thing. We always struggle with them. They do well in that zone, but they played a lot of man tonight. I feel like they're good defense. They're very disciplined players. They play hard all the time. They're physical, but just coming in and really breaking that down. We had to, you know, luckily we got into overtime and ended up winning.
Yeah, I mean, they're really physical, and when it comes to situations like that, like, we have to bear down and just play through it. I think they had a great game plan, and we knew it wasn't going to be easy coming in tonight, but we knew going there last year and losing the second time we played them, like, we were going to win this game. As a freshman, that has to be nerve-wracking. I mean, like, I know even us, like, that's a hard game to play in, and it was a huge game. It was a loud crowd, and for her to come in and just stay focused and stay calm, I couldn't be more proud of her. I know that she was nervous, but I hope this outweighs all those nerves.
Yeah, like she said, like, we were all nervous. Like, we've done this, we played basketball our whole lives, and we were still tired. Like, my hands were asleep. But Jalen Montgomery, she really stepped up. Even as a freshman, this is the loudest crowd I think we've ever played in. So just for her to step up and do that, I mean, it's amazing.
I mean, that one was big. I mean, it's almost like a trap game. Like, you don't want to look ahead to Chile, but I think just getting that one, like, we went to Chile and we got a win on the road. So they have to come here, and I think we're just looking to go undefeated in the league, stay focused.
Yeah, Waterford's a good team. Face up against them on Saturday, play our game. Not as much pressure on that game as there was tonight, but like you said, prepare for Chillicothe, not to look ahead, but prepare for them and plan to go undefeated back-to-back.
And that was TJ Carpenter and Maddie Wilburn from the Jackson Iron Ladies. Last night, TJ had 20 points and Maddie had 12 points and 10 rebounds. Kenzie Davis also had 10 points. The Jackson players celebrated by cutting down the nets. As you could see in that video, they were holding a piece of the nets, and then they feasted on cupcakes. We did not get any cupcakes. But again, the Jackson Iron Ladies win their second straight FAC title last night.
It was definitely a loud game. I think Maddie said it on that video. It was loud.
Yeah.
It was really exciting. That entire – I remember thinking to myself, boy, when they made it into overtime, it's like, girls, there's still like 4 minutes of play left. Everybody calm down.
Yeah.
and just, do your game. And they did. They did a great job. But, the crowd was really into it. The student section that was there was
Can you
pretty
imagine
amazing.
the pressure of shooting foul shots with the game on the line
With an empty
time
court.
already expired?
Time
empty
is expired.
court.
Again, and it was literally the clock said 0.00. The time had expired. And she got fouled, and it was definitely open for debate. I think that Coach Walburn said that it was that he agreed with the call, everything that all made sense, and it was a good game, and which good for him, because it would have been really easy for anybody else to be like, it was bad refs, bad officiating. I don't think he had a terrible thing to say at all about that.
I get really annoyed by people complaining about officiating at high school games.
Oh, sure.
Like, one, they don't care who wins.
No.
And two, you can't play the game if you don't have the people willing to be the officials. And it's not like they're getting paid a lot of money to do it. They're taking time. That's their free time that they're taking to do that. And, people feel the need to yell at them. And
I've had, with my, again, previous life, spent so much time in the music world and adjudications, being a judge at music competitions, which I've done some things like that, but I've decided I never wanted to officially be in that capacity.
Yeah.
Because I know that I've been in those situations before where you see parents that are just so angry because they thought that their kids did better. I think we always tried to promote, that it's more fun to be good than it is to be fun. And, we always just did the best we could. And we knew that if someone beat us, they just were better.
Yeah.
So I've never had a problem with that. But when people get so involved,
people get so worked up about the officiating.
Yeah. And I've just, to think, granted, the difference is if you go to something like a band competition, nobody sees the judges.
Sure.
They announce who they are.
It's a very different
and you can
thing,
see them going out. But, I've seen, and usually the judges they're not dumb. They try to sneak out before the awards come through.
Oh, yeah.
That happens
Go
anywhere.
out the back door.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, good officiating, bad officiating. It's, it's not like on, college football, pro football, where they've got instant replay and they can go back and go, whoops, apparently I did make the wrong call. You're making that call on the spot, and there's some you're going to mess up.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
But again, congratulations to the Jackson Iron Ladies.
It
What
really
an awesome
was an
victory.
exciting game. I can't wait to see. I think they still have 4 regular season games left. I don't know that any of them are league games. Again, I haven't followed that enough. If they've officially won outright, I guess that means that
I don't have the rest of
Chillicothe would be. But again, I'm not sure. But no, if they've won, congratulations to them. And again, there'll be some more exciting games to come. And I'm sure they'll be.
Jackson is 14-3 overall and 9-0 in their conference. So that's why they've been able to win the conference with a few games left in the season.
That's awesome.
It is very awesome. So that was not the only cool sporting event that happened in Jackson yesterday. For the first time ever, yesterday at Parks Edge Event Center, Jackson played host to the Cincinnati Reds Caravan. This was a really cool event. Dylan's got a few photos from the event last night. So this was really cool. Again, like I said, this is the first time that they had ever come to Jackson, and so this is part of a part of what they do with their radio affiliates, which we are currently broadcasting on WYPC 105.3 1330 AM. This is also the home of the Cincinnati Reds in Jackson,
And I'm
Ohio.
assuming that you got to talk the other day about you getting to go to Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get to talk about that?
Yeah,
here
we
on the
talked
show?
about that a little bit. So on Monday, a big group of us went to Cincinnati to the Reds affiliate luncheon. So this was anybody that works at a Reds affiliate station anywhere in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia. We're invited up to Cincinnati for this event, and we got kind of the VIP treatment. We got the tour of the stadium. We got to go in the clubhouse. We got to hit batting practice.
So this event that happened yesterday is just really an extension of that, right? So
Yeah.
you get to do it there in Cincinnati, and then they send people out to those affiliates.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
so the affiliates luncheon kind of kicks off this caravan, and this is an event that I've gone to as a fan a bunch of times, mostly in Athens, but also in the Dayton area. But this was the first time ever they came to Jackson. So we did a live Q&A on 96.7 yesterday. JJ and Porterhouse put that together with Reds broadcaster Tommy Thrall, general manager Nick Kroll, outfielder TJ Friel, minor league pitcher Casey Leguimina, and infielder Nick Northcutt. So those were the guys that came down to Jackson yesterday. And Dylan's got some pictures, and he can kind of cycle through them a little bit. We'll talk about it. Here's the whole crew. So that's JJ and Porterhouse there on the end with the Reds crew there in the middle. Beside JJ, that is Reds broadcaster Tommy Thrall. Beside Porterhouse, I keep forgetting this gentleman's name, but he is the stadium PA announcer. So he is somebody whose voice you instantly recognize when you hear him talk, but he also organizes this stuff. So he is a pretty important guy. You may think that, oh man, that guy's got a cushy job. All he's got to do is read the batting lineup. But no, he organizes like everything to do with their radio network. Like he is sort of the big boss man there. And then beside him is Reds general manager Nick Kroll. And then that is TJ Friel, Casey Leguimina, and Nick Northcutt in the middle there. So that was a really cool thing. We've got a few other pictures we'll show here. So here's some of the players meeting some of the young fans. That's Nick Northcutt. He's a minor league infielder. He's a young guy. He'll be in spring training this year, but he's a guy that can hit for power and hit for average. We'll probably see him. He'll probably be in the minors this year, but we'll probably see him in the big leagues before too much longer.
Cool.
Yeah, then signing autographs for kids. That's TJ. TJ was a rookie with the Reds last year, had a really good rookie season. Expected to probably be a regular player this coming year. There's always a lot of competition for outfielders because, a lot of times the outfielders are your best hitters too. And then, so I did not catch this lady's name, but she was having the time of her life yesterday. And so here's Porterhouse interviewing her, but she got to chat with all the players. She got autographs. She got up on that stage with them and everything. She was really having a great time. Of course, Mr. Red, they're in the background kind of gawking. Then here's Mr. Red signing some autographs. And then again, this is Tommy Thrall. He is the Reds radio broadcaster. He took over for Marty Brenneman when he retired in 2019. So he's been doing it for a few years. And so his story is pretty interesting because he came up as a broadcaster much in the same way that players come up because he spent 15 years in the minor leagues. He was a minor league radio announcer, and he just worked really hard and ultimately ended up at the Reds minor league affiliate team in Pensacola, Florida, and was able to make contacts with the Reds team then. And then when Marty retired and that came up.
That's cool.
Yeah,
he
got called up to the big leagues. And there, Mr. Red is kind of stretching out. But it was a really cool event. We got to give a shout out to Mandy at Park's Edge for doing such an incredible job, like getting the facility ready for that. It really looked great. She did a really fun spread. I think maybe Dylan showed it. She had peanuts and Cracker Jacks and popcorn and we had a hot dog. masks and everything. So, all right, I want to talk about this one. So that's Hayden Milliken. Everybody here at the station knows Hayden. Hayden is one of our board ops, and he's been doing that for about 5 years. He's a recent Jackson High School graduate, and he's really been wanting to get behind the microphone and start doing some play-by-play. And Hayden has a voice like you've never heard come out of a 19-year-old kid before.
Yes, he does.
I like to say Hayden is the second coming of Harry Carey. And so Hayden got up and asked the question, and after Tommy Thrall, the Reds broadcaster, heard Hayden's voice, he was like, "Oh, what? I kind of don't want to have to follow that."
That's funny. That's funny. That's good.
So it was a really, really, really cool event. In case you missed it, the entire Q&A is available on our podcast feed. So if you listen to Main Street TV as a podcast, that Q&A is already in your podcast feed. So it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, including our app, Total Media Radio. All you have to do is select a station and then click the 3 little lines in the upper left corner. A drop-down menu will come down, and click on podcasts and look for Reds Caravan Q&A. And you can listen to the whole show from yesterday. It's about half an hour long. And it's honestly a really good Q&A. JJ moderated it, and he really did a great job. And
of course he did.
You could tell the players were, had fun being there. Yeah. I think they were impressed by the venue and the hospitality.
I'm sure.
Yes, and they had a long day yesterday. They went from Cincinnati to Portsmouth to Jackson to Ravenswood to Charleston to Huntington.
And then staying over, and are they in Athens today?
Tomorrow. So it's a different group is going to be in Athens tomorrow.
Okay.
So I assume that group, I think they spent the night in Huntington and probably went back to Cincinnati today. I don't know if that group's doing more stops today or not.
Okay.
But so that brings me to my next stop. If you missed it yesterday and are interested in being a part of this, the Reds will be in Athens tomorrow. And the Athens event, like the Jackson event, is technically a private event, but you have a chance to get tickets.
Oh, awesome.
So what you got to do is you got to listen to Power 105 out of Athens. The station, you probably don't get the station over the airwaves in Jackson, but you can download the app, Power 105.3. Just search that in the App Store. Or you can go to yourtotalmedia.com/radio, find the Power 105 tab, and click Listen Now. Listen to them this morning, and you will have a chance, and tomorrow morning, and you'll have a chance to win tickets. Or you could probably just call the station and be like, "Hey, I'd like to go. I missed out on the Jackson one." And we might be able to hook you up. No promises, but we will try.
I was just getting ready to pull it up myself.
But so I believe that we are going to do a live broadcast again tomorrow of the Q&A in Athens, and that will be on WATH. That is tell me the station ID, Josh.
Well, that's what I'm trying to.
It's 970 AM.
WATH 970 AM 97.1 FM.
97.1 FM. But again, that's also streaming online. Just go to yourtotalmedia.com/radio and find the correct Listen Live tab, and you'll be able to listen to it on your smartphone.
Yeah, it looks like that's where that 97.1 is where they broadcast the Bengals games. Looks like Blue Jackets,
Columbus
Reds,
Blue Jackets,
Ohio State, and looks like CBS News Radio as well, and Athens Bulldogs. So,
yep. So a lot of cool things coming up with the Cincinnati Reds, and we hope that this event will get to do this again next year, and it'll be bigger and better than ever. The events in Athens are normally public. It's unfortunately private this year. This is the first year that Total Media is involved with the Athens radio stations, so it's a growing experience. But hopefully, we'll be able to do this as a big party next year.
That's a huge kudos to JJ. It really is because JJ's going out there and doing everything he can to promote Jackson. From right here, and there's so many amazing experiences that really do happen here in Jackson. I was actually in shock yesterday that people who I know follow sports a lot more than I do were unaware that really that event was happening yesterday.
Yeah, and we were in a little bit of an awkward position where it wasn't a public
Right.
event. So it was kind of like, well, how much should we or can we promote this? And this
But
wasn't
I
our.
think, did I hear there were probably like 85 people there?
Yeah, we had seating for about 90 people, and it was it may not have been totally full, but it was a really nice crowd.
Well,
Yeah.
apparently I had a ticket to go and I didn't even know it.
Didn't know about it. Yeah. Well, your better half was there.
She
and
was
she
there.
seemed like she had
Yeah.
had a really nice time.
Yeah.
A lot of the Total Media people came out. A lot of our advertisers came out, and we had some people bring their families and things like that. It was really nice.
Now,
My parents came out, and they really had a good time.
I have to be honest. See, I grew up in Northeast Ohio.
You Indians fan? Guardian? Well, I guess they're the Guardians.
Yeah, they're the
now.
Guardians now. So I grew up a Windians fan. That's what we've always said there. And so, the Reds they're just a team that I never really followed. So I remember being in high school and in middle school going to, Cleveland games and did that all the time. Now, I grew up a Browns fan. And the best thing that ever happened to Cleveland was when the Browns left, and then they bring in the new Browns. And I
That was the best thing that happened.
yes. I am admittedly a bandwagon Bengals fan.
Bengals fan, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I just as soon as Joey ended up there, it was made it really easy to follow someone
for sure.
and get a team. I've been an Ohio State fan. Again, I became an Ohio State fan because I was in college in Columbus, and that's how I ended up there. But I never paid attention to college football. I paid attention to pro football, and then became a college football fan. And the whole pro thing kind of went by the wayside. But Cincinnati has been my team now for the last 3 years, so I'm a bandwagon fan.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm still probably more of a Cleveland guy than I am Cincinnati, so I just try to keep my mouth shut and not go to that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I grew up during a time where, the Reds had some good teams, but they didn't have any great teams.
Right.
And Cleveland had Manny Ramirez, Kenny Lofton, Omar Vizquel, just like one of the best teams in the history of baseball. Certainly one of the best teams of that late 90s era.
So when they built that stadium, I think it was called Jacobs Field then,
yeah.
which I think
Now
is
it's
Progressive.
Field.
I was there for the first night game.
Wow.
And so it was like the second or third games, the first night game, and it was the first home run hit by an Indian in that stadium. And I'm trying to remember who it was. Oh, that's awful. I'm sure it'll come to me later on.
Hey, Siri. Who hit the first home run in Jacobs Field in Cleveland?
Okay, I found this on the web for who hit the first.
Eddie Murray.
Eddie Murray, that's correct. So I was there for that game. So that's
very cool.
Yeah, so I was there for that game, actually sitting behind home plate.
Nice. Brag.
So again, it was just one of those things that I got to go do, and I started following more and more baseball then. And then I went to college and started following it. Like I said, everything changes, and I tried to adapt to whatever environment I happen to be in. So apparently my new environment is I need to become a Reds fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would be all right.
It would be all right. Hey, it's, sometimes it's okay to root for like a lovable loser kind of team.
Now, as long as we're not talking about anything in Pittsburgh, I'm fine.
Well, yeah. So there was one lady there yesterday, very, very nice lady. And she came in, she had a red sweater on, and she was wearing a Pittsburgh Steelers jacket. And I was like, ma'am, you're going to have to take that jacket off. That's not allowed in here today.
Wow.
Pittsburgh is a great baseball city, though.
Yes.
Say what you want about Pittsburgh.
Sure.
It is a great baseball city. Beautiful stadium in Pittsburgh.
Again, growing up in Northeast Ohio, it was really funny. In the area that I grew up in, Alliance, in pro football, you really had three teams that you would choose from. You were either Cleveland, Pittsburgh, or believe it or not, it was the 49ers. And what I think the deal was, and we can connect this even to Cincinnati, was the guy that owned the 49ers was from either Youngstown or Boardman, Ohio, and he owned like a mall there. But he owned the 49ers, and he was based out of there. I believe that was how that story went. So there were a lot of people that followed the 49ers. Again, this would have been in the late 80s, early 90s.
So you went to school in Alliance?
I went to Marlington, but in Alliance.
We maybe had this conversation before, but my dad went to school in Alliance for a little while when he was a early high school, I think.
I think we talked about that once. Did you tell me that you knew somebody who went to Mount Union College? That was the college there.
I don't know.
Mount Union. So Alliance is that whole area, remember, it's 20 minutes outside of Canton, where the Pro Football Hall of Fame, there I even said it right, Canton. It's 20 minutes outside of Canton, Akron, Canton. I had to learn to get rid of that A sound when I moved here. I haven't fully recovered from that. But Mount Union College has been national champs for whatever division that is in college football for 30 years. They've always been fantastic. They won again this year. So, and I knew guys that I went to high school with that played football at Mount Union.
Yeah.
So that was
high school football is big in that area.
Yeah. So of course, then you get into Canton. McKinley was always very well known for its football program, and so football was big in that particular area.
For sure.
Just remember that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that concludes our sports talk for today.
Good, because there's nothing.
You're running out of sports things to say.
I'm an artist.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's talk about something that we also don't know very much about. The 2023 Oscar nominations came in.
That's really funny. Now, I'm gonna say this ahead of time. So, if you want to really know about the movies for the Oscars, the Oscar picks, if you make your way to Chillicothe to Danbury, you will find our general manager there. His name is Abe Leonard. And Abe has seen all but one of the Oscar-nominated movies.
Should have brought him in this morning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So
a good idea.
I'm thinking maybe when the Oscars happen or the day after, it might be a great idea to bring him in. So Abe ended up in somebody convinced him. I learned this yesterday after telling him, hey, I'm going to go in and I think we're going to talk about the Oscars for a second. He said, oh, yeah, well, I entered this thing online, and there are 2,000 people who entered it, and it's like I don't want to say like a fantasy thing, but it's some kind of bracket.
Yeah.
That was, who are your Oscar nominations?
It's like March Madness for the Oscars.
Dead on. Well, out of 2,000 people, right now, he's in third place.
Wow.
So Abe is one of those. I mean, I love Abe because he loves movies, and he's in a much better position when it comes to that because he really does go and watch a lot of movies. So if you really want to talk about Oscar contending movies, there was only one that he hadn't seen, but he had picked it for awards. Yeah, just out of sheer.
He's like, well, that movie
heard
looks
it's
like
going to be
Oscar
good.
bait.
Yes. Well, and that really is a thing where movies do become kind of, as you joke, Oscar bait. You have certain movies that you hear the Oscar buzz about. What we've learned is in small town USA, Oscar movies don't tend to be the most attended movies.
Oh yeah,
they're really great movies, but
that's like not always the case. But yeah,
sometimes. Your perfect example on that is you've got the 25-year anniversary of Titanic is coming up. That obviously won a ton of awards at its time. But anyway, let's talk.
Well,
about
I've got the Best Picture nominees here. I think this is a good place to start, and we can talk about. Well, you can talk about where you can see these movies. Some of them are, at least one of them is still in theaters, and most of them are streaming somewhere. And we can talk about which ones we've seen. And Dylan, if you've seen any, you can chime in too.
Yes.
So Best Picture nominees for the Oscars this year: All Quiet on the Western Front.
I didn't know much about that. Why am I thinking it was actually a streamed movie?
It may be. I'm pretty sure. I looked this up last night. I'm pretty sure it is on HBO Max right now.
I think that sounds correct.
Hold on. I'm gonna look up the where they're streaming so I can answer that questions as we go. Okay. And then we have. I want to mispronounce this. The Banshees of the Inisherin.
Inisherin, I think, is what that is.
Okay.
I had no idea. It was not a movie that was even discussed with me when we were choosing movies this year. So it's not one that I knew anything about. I'm trying to see if I can find right now. It is playing in theaters, it looks like right now still. Looks like you could actually see it in Lancaster.
Okay. So Banshees of the Inisherin is currently streaming on HBO Max, and All Quiet on the Western Front is currently streaming on Netflix.
Okay.
Avatar: The Way of Water.
So, of course, Avatar is still in theaters. I think it's also nominated for a couple of, it might be a Best Actress award or a Supporting Actress award in there, like costume design. So it's been nominated for several different awards. It's obviously still in theaters. If you want to see it the way that it was designed to be seen, then believe it or not, Tri-City's your place to see it, because it was designed to be done in 3D. And it is, of our 3 theaters, it's the only one that still has 3D equipment.
Interesting. So the original Avatar came out in like 2007-ish. I was not a fan. I did not like the movie then, did not see it in theaters, did not see it in 3D. So maybe I missed out on that experience, but I did not particularly enjoy it. And it's not a movie that I remember anything about. So I am one of those people that's like, why are they making 4 more of these movies that everybody's forgotten about? But here it is, nominated for Best Picture. And it did really well, like in theaters. Made James Cameron a lot of money.
Yes. I think it officially broke $2 billion, which is unbelievable to think about. Admittedly, I watched the first Avatar the first time maybe 2 years ago, just at home on a streaming service with my daughters. More than anything else, I think there was probably a push coming from my house of, hey, Josh, if you're going to work in movies, you really should get to know some of these films. I had not been a huge film person since the 90s, really. And then after that, I would go to stuff, but it really had to be stuff that appealed to me. So I started trying to go back and wanting to be able to have a little bit more of a conversation in that. So I did watch Avatar. Again, storyline, it was okay. I mean, obviously for me, it was one of those that seeing it in the theater, I think would have been better. Because it's designed to be on such a grand scale when it comes to the visual element. I think that's what's more important than anything else in a movie like that. Sometimes you have movies where just, the filming of the movie itself and the scale that it's on just can't be duplicated in your home.
Oh, for sure.
And nowadays people watch movies like this.
Guilty of that. I'm guilty of like pausing something on the big TV in the living room so I could watch something on my phone.
And that's what I had people say that to me. Unfortunately, that's the first comment that I would have. It's like, "Oh, you saw Avatar? How was it?" And everybody says it was long. It was long. And so it's I could watch it at home, and at least then I could pause, go to the bathroom,
did you hear
grab
James?
a sandwich.
So did you hear James Cameron's like roast of people about this?
No.
So James Cameron is like a grumpy old dude.
Yes.
And so like some interviewer asked him about people that were complaining about how long it is. He's like, well, like he's offended by the concept of like pausing his movie to go to the bathroom. Well, I guess they just have to go see it again.
Well, if that was a Broadway musical, there'd be an intermission.
Yeah, for sure.
And at one point in time during the old film days, they would have had to have changed the reel. There would have been an intermission.
Yeah.
So it's all well and good that he thinks very highly of himself.
James Cameron thinks very highly of himself, from what I can tell.
And that he doesn't mind if you suffer through his art.
Yeah.
That's fine. But yeah, you almost need an intermission.
Talking about how much money James Cameron's making, this is kind of an interesting, and I won't get the numbers right, but this is kind of an interesting thing. So when he was making Titanic, studio was like, this is costing way too much.
Sure.
And he's like, how about this? I'll do it for scale, which is like minimum wage, you know, if I get 2% of the theater gross.
Yeah.
Highest grossing movie of all time.
And he got like 2%.
He got 2%, whatever, yeah. Can you imagine that?
Well, so that's another one of those movie industry things that just cracks me up. Because I was looking at it and going, 25-year anniversary of Titanic it's being re-released. Like, you know, we should bring that to it. With Chillicothe, we've got 10 screens.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot more things that we can do versus 4 screens here. And that's one of the exciting parts for me is sometimes I can bring in a movie that we just wouldn't be able to get here. I can talk to all of you fine people about the fact that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, hey, let's bring in Titanic. This would be great. Well, James Cameron insists that the only theaters that can have it are the ones willing to play it in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I said Tri-City is the only one that we have that can still play 3D.
Mm-hmm.
So the only place we could put it is there. And it's, do you take a gamble on a 25-year-old movie or do you play 80 for Brady?
Yeah.
Do you play the brand new content? So
well, I will tell you this. I did not see Titanic when it first came out, despite how huge it was. I was in elementary
you'd probably
school.
love to see it.
And I saw it when they re-released it in theaters in 3D for the 15th anniversary or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember whether I saw it in theaters, quite honestly. I probably did. If I'm remembering correctly, the same year as Titanic, I would have to look at the other Oscar-nominated movies that year, but I think that's the same year that As Good as It Gets came out.
I don't know. It was 1993, I think.
Yeah, and again, I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But there was another, if I remember, I'll have to look that up while we're talking about the other Oscar nominations.
Yeah, so let's move on down this list because we've got several more to talk about. And this is probably the one we're going to have the most to say. Well, maybe the second most to say about. I think this is the only one that all three of us in this room have seen. Elvis. Yeah. So I was never particularly an Elvis fan. It was, like you said, like when the Beatles came around, Elvis kind of like, all that stuff sort of overtook Elvis, and he became kind of this, like this Vegas act that was maybe a little bit took less seriously than a lot of other stuff that was happening in the 60s and 70s. And so I was never an Elvis fan. I love this movie. Not particularly a Baz Luhrmann fan. I did not like The Great Gatsby. I've not seen the Romeo and Juliet movie that he made. I think there was another one of his movies that I have seen. I don't remember. But I really, really, really like this movie. Austin Butler, I believe, is the actor's name that played Elvis. I thought he did a really fantastic job. Tom Hanks as Colonel Tom Parker is like Dick Dastardly cartoon mustache twirling level movie villain. And I thought it was pretty fantastic.
Okay, so on that note, apparently it wasn't 93. It had to have been 94. 93, Aladdin was one of the big winners. So I'm getting ready to pull up 94. There's another thing out there that Cora didn't know existed, and I'm sure you probably do. Have you ever heard of the Razzies?
Mm-hmm. The Golden Raspberry Awards, the awards given for the worst movie of the year. Titanic was 98. I was way off.
Okay. So I was looking up something, again, Oscar things to talk about with today, and something about the Razzies came up. Tom Hanks is nominated for
Worst actor
for his, actually, he's nominated twice this year for his role
for Pinocchio,
in Pinocchio, Disney's Pinocchio, and for his role as Tom Parker. So,
have you seen any of the Disney Pinocchio?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, I watched it, and I watched the.
You watched the Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, I watched both of them because I had heard
one is a better film than the other.
Yeah, one is better. I didn't like. I didn't like either one of them.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. So, but I did get a chance to see that. But Tom Hanks, to think that Tom Hanks would be put in that situation. And right now he's in the movie A Man Called Otto, and I'm hearing so many wonderful things about it. I've yet to see it. I've been told, take your tissues if you go. And I do plan to see it before it's out of the theater. I haven't had time. But to think that Tom Hanks is in the Elvis movie, but people consider his performance to be that bad. I don't think it was bad.
I think it was a choice.
I think the hard part is Tom Hanks is just one of those people who every time you look at him, you have a role that he's played that is stuck in your head.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
So Tom Parker, to see him playing Colonel Tom Parker, you listen to him speak, and sometimes you think he just sounds like Forrest Gump.
Yeah. I mean, he made a bold choice in how he played that character.
Yes,
I thought it was fun.
I didn't have a problem with his
I didn't have
acting
fun
in
with
that.
it. I mean, is it real silly? Yeah, sure, but that doesn't mean there's nothing wrong with it. 1998 Best Picture nominees, real quick. Titanic won. The other nominees were As Good as It Gets,
That's
The
it.
Full Monty, Good Will Hunting, and L.A. Confidential.
So that year, Jack Nicholson won Best Actor for As Good as It Gets, and Helen Hunt won Best Actress. So as much as Titanic was the movie, I think, that won, but I just really got into that. You also had movies that year like Good Will Hunting, which, again, Robin Williams, and Matt Damon.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon.
Yeah, just what an incredible movie that is too. So, but these movies, I think a lot of those tended to be more mainstream. Then again, I'm seeing actor in a supporting role. The movie Boogie Nights is on that
Dirk
list.
Diggler.
Yes. So I don't encourage you to Google search Boogie Nights if you don't know it.
Oh, yeah, do that.
It's a good movie.
Hit the image tab.
Yeah, no, don't.
Search Dirk Diggler
Do not.
and hit images.
Do not listen to James. Do not do it.
Hey, Dylan, why don't you bring that?
No, do not.
The
Please.
guy that, the special effects artist that built that
Yes.
won an Oscar. Did you know that?
He probably won for costume design or special effects.
special
Yes,
effects
I would
design,
believe
yeah.
that.
All right, so moving on. The 2023 Oscar nominees, Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is a movie I've not seen, but it looks and sounds really, really cool.
Okay, so
Elvis is on HBO Max, by the way.
Yes. Everything Everywhere All at Once was, I don't want to say a surprise hit, but a surprise hit.
Oh, it definitely was.
There were a lot of people who had been talking about it ahead. It's put out by A24. A24 has never had a major, like a movie that did super well. And it's probably the highest grossing movie they've ever put out. We had it it seemed like it was at Danbury forever. I think it was there 6-8 weeks. Now, it wasn't as noticeable because at the same time, Top Gun was there, which had been there for, I forget how long. I think we did almost, I know
Top
it was
Gun
over
was
20.
in theaters for a long time.
It was over 20 weeks, and we could have
highest
brought it
grossing
back.
movie of 2022.
So, again, everyone that I know who went to see it says it was fantastic. Again, I didn't get a chance to see it.
I've heard nothing but good things. If you missed it in theaters and you want to watch it now, it is on Showtime, and you can rent it from various platforms. The Fabelmans. This is one I'm not really familiar with at all.
Okay, so The Fabelmans is the one that is, I'm
Looks like
sorry,
Benedict
director.
Cumberbatch.
Yeah, but it's
Katie-
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, Spielberg.
Okay, so The Fabelmans it's Steven Spielberg telling his story of his childhood. Okay. I don't necessarily know that I would call it a biopic, and I don't know that he really calls it a biopic, but it's based on his childhood.
Yeah.
And he has said in interviews before that there are things about each of these different movies that he's done, whether it be E.T., that he always tries to put in something that was a part of his childhood and upbringing. And I think that Fabelmans kind of brings all of that together for you. So if you know, if you know enough about Spielberg stuff that if you watch The Fabelmans, you may look at it and go, oh, that makes this make sense. So
Okay. So the next one is Tar, T-A-R. I'm not familiar with this one.
Tar is about a woman who is a conductor.
Okay.
I know that much. My understanding is that it's very much a movie about her downward spiral as a person. I think it might have had something to do with her having an affair.
Very dramatic.
Very, very, very dramatic.
Yeah. And so that movie is still showing in select theaters and will debut on Peacock tomorrow. So here's probably the biggest one. I don't know if it'll win, but it was definitely the most popular. Top Gun Maverick.
So I'm assuming that Top Gun will win in some way. What I don't know is something like special effects, whether it would beat an Avatar or not. It obviously was the biggest box office success between that. And again, a neck and neck with Avatar. I'm not sure what it'll win, but
I don't know. We'll find out. So it is streaming on Paramount Plus.
Obviously a great movie. But.
Yeah. The next one is Triangle of Sadness.
Again, that's one I think that even Abe told me he hadn't seen.
Okay.
So I know nothing about it.
And so it is not streaming anywhere, but you can rent it online. Then the last one is Women Talking, which is also still showing in select theaters.
So Women Talking, if I remember correctly, is the one about is that the one that's the hidden secrets in the Amish community?
It looks like it. It looks like it. Yeah, this might be a behind the scenes photo. Yeah, but it looks like it's something along those lines.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with that one myself.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it, and quite honestly, its content was enough that I just wasn't in a hurry to bring it here.
So here's one movie that I want to mention that I'm a little surprised it didn't get nominated for Best Picture, but it's really bonkers. And I see it's nominated for Best Original Song, and I don't know, it probably has some other nominations too. But RRR. So have you heard of this movie? Are you at all familiar with this?
I only heard about it because I just did a little bit of digging, and you and I had talked about it, and I paid attention because it won Best Song and is nominated for Best Song for this coming Oscar season.
Yeah, so this movie is insane. So it's like a Bollywood movie, and it is like part musical, part the most insane action movie you've ever seen. It's crazy. So before the movie even starts, you get this disclaimer. No birds were harmed during the making of this film. The horses, the oxen, the birds, the tigers, the wolves, the bears, leopards, deer, and fish, and snake shown in this movie are all computer generated. And then after that disclaimer, there's a second disclaimer that says the story of this feature film has been set in the backdrop of pre-independent India and is purely fictional. The characters portrayed in this movie, the geographical areas depicted, the incidents shown, costumes, dances, linguistic dialects, and cultural attributions are fictional. This film, apart from showcasing the culture and geography of India, doesn't imply any person. This is really small. It's hard to read.
Wow.
But yeah, so like before the movie starts, it's like the most insane disclaimer you've ever seen. And then so what you get is just cuckoo, just crazy movie. Did you find any pictures? Find a picture of the guy like punching the tiger, Dylan.
But it's a
spoilers.
So if I say it's a foreign film,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. So it's an Indian movie. It's originally in Hindi or Hindu, but you can watch it on Netflix in like a few different languages. But it is just like, it's crazy. So like it's 3 hours long. So if you don't want to commit to a 3 hour long movie, look up the dance scene on YouTube and just watch that. I really wanted to play it on the show today, but I didn't want us to get in trouble for playing the music. But it is like one of the best like dance scenes in a movie you will ever see. But it's also like insane fight scenes. Like this is the scene where the dude fights a tiger. He's getting chased by. Yeah, here he is getting ready to punch that tiger.
Oh my!
So it's just like constant explosions.
Okay, that's pretty ridiculous.
It is insane.
You know what? I have seen some trailers and stuff for this movie.
Yeah, the trailers doesn't really do it justice. I don't think.
No, but now that okay. Now that I look at that picture, I remember seeing something about it. But
yeah, this movie's crazy. It's a really bonkers movie. But yeah, you should check it out. At the very least, watch the dance scene on YouTube because it is pretty awesome, and you'll have that song stuck in your head all day.
James, we ran us out of time. I knew that we were going to do that, but my fault for talking about other things. We didn't get to talk about Clerks today.
That's all right. We'll save that for maybe Tuesday or Wednesday next week.
Talking about that next week?
Yeah.
Okay. So James and I both have taken the time to rewatch the original. Did you rewatch the original Clerks?
Not recently, but I've seen it 100 times.
Okay.
Clerks and Clerks 2 are both two of my favorite movies of all time.
And then he and I both watched Clerks 3 recently.
Just recently came out this past summer.
So we were going to talk about it a little bit. It's more of a cultural conversation, I think, for me.
And it's a movie that we don't want to spoil for people if you are interested in seeing it, but I have thoughts on it.
Okay. That might actually fit well into the other. We can talk about this off air.
Mm-hmm.
We have another topic that we talked about discussing today. Those two things might actually go very well together.
All right. Well, Josh, thanks for hanging with us this morning.
Hey, I love it. Thanks everybody for letting me do that. Anytime James says, "Hey, you want to come in?" my answer is always yes. I've been hanging out at the radio pretty much every day now. Porterhouse and JJ, if your audience don't know, they of course were us talking about Athens today. Those two have been spending a lot of time in Athens right now. It kind of left Matt alone. I love talking. I love talking to Matt. I love talking to Matt. So I've been coming in every morning and just kind of being his sidekick on the radio.
Yep.
It's always good for me. It gives me a little bit of a chance to have adult conversations with people. And people will catch me on the street now and go, "Hey, Big Papa." So that part is really neat. So I get identified that way again. So I've been doing that. And then I always listen to the rebroadcast, or at least go back and listen to the morning show, usually during my drives back and forth between theaters. So I used to try to comment every once in a while live on things, but now I'm always watching playback, so I don't ever get to do that anymore. But anyway, so you'll catch me in those places. Of course, I've got my Tri-City shirt on. I'm getting ready to go to Danbury. I've got an interview there today. So I do love doing those kind of things. So maybe you'll see a little bit more of me. And as long as nobody throws me out, I'm just going to keep on showing up places and talking to people. So I keep telling everybody that. Somebody's going to eventually go, "Josh, okay, you need to just go away now."
Well, that hasn't happened yet.
They like me because I'm free.
Yeah.
I'm cheap labor.
It's true. Well, thank you guys for listening. Pete Wilson will be here tomorrow with some news. Finally Friday. Thank God.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you for hanging out with us this morning. And we will be back tomorrow with Pete Wilson and news. So have a good night, guys.
Hi, Mom.
Bye, Mom. Bye, Mom.